आपके सपनों को साकार करने के लिए नेक्स्ट IAS लेकर आया है नेशनल स्कॉलरशिप टेस्ट। पाएं 100% तक की स्कॉलरशिप। आज ही रजिस्टर करें।
Hello everyone, I am Abhishek Parmar and I am going to discuss history questions. So this year in Civil Services Mains Exam 2023, there are 2 questions on modern Indian history and 1 question for medieval history. तो सबसे पहले ये दोनों मॉडर्न के क्वेश्चन डिस्कस करा जाएगा और उसके बाद एक क्वेश्चन मेडिवल का। ओवर द लास्ट फ्यू ईयर्स इफ यू सी द पैटर्न ऑफ द मेंस एग्जाम एज फार एज हिस्ट्री एज अ सब्जेक्ट इज कंसर्न, तो ज़्यादातर आपको ऐसे क्वेश्चन मिलेंगे जहां आपको अपनी लर्निंग क्षमता और अंडरस्टैंडिंग को बढ़ाने की ज़रूरत पड़ेगी। और ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई गाइड बुक या कोई टिपिकल सिर्फ कोई नोट्स पढ़ ले तो आंसर कर पाएगा, क्योंकि क्वेश्चंस का नेचर ही ऐसा आ रहा है कि कुछ भी हो, गाइड बुक विल नॉट बी सफिशिएंट फॉर राइटिंग आंसर्स। जैसे पहला क्वेश्चन 150 वर्ड का, तो दिस क्वेश्चन इज रिगार्डिंग अबाउट डिफरेंस इन अप्रोचेस और डिफरेंस यू कैन से बिटवीन महात्मा गांधी एंड रविंद्रनाथ टैगोर ऑन 2 themes. One is education and another is on nationalism. So what do you think, what were the differences in the approaches of Gandhi and Tagore in the field of education as well as nationalism? So as far as historical personalities are concerned class, they had different opinions. It's not about Gandhi and Tagore. गांधी अम्बेडकर के बीच में डिफरेंस है, गांधी नेहरू के बीच में डिफरेंस है, और गांधी सुभाष चंद्र बोस के बीच में डिफरेंस है। बट जो ग्रेट लीडर्स हैं ऑफ द फ्रीडम स्ट्रगल, दे डिस्पाइट हैविंग डिफरेंसेस, दे हैड एडमिरेशन एंड रेस्पेक्ट फॉर ईच अदर। और गांधी और टैगोर का जो एक्सचेंज कम्युनिकेशन शुरू होता वो 1914-15 से है, थ्रू लेटर्स। एंड व्हेन गांधी केम टू इंडिया, गांधी विजिटेड शांति निकेतन। शांति निकेतन क्या है? शांति निकेतन was a college which was established in 1911 during Swadeshi movement. Swadeshi movement by Tagore. क्योंकि पता है आपको कि when Swadeshi movement started, Swadeshi movement से क्लैरिटी है। स्वदेशी मूवमेंट मतलब emphasizing on indigenous goods as well as indigenous institutions. It's not only about goods, मतलब हर वो चीज करी जाए जो भारत को इंडिपेंडेंट करे या उसकी डिपेंडेंसी ब्रिटिश पे कम कर दे या फॉरेन गुड्स पे, फॉरेन चीजों पे कम कर दे। सो देयर वाज, you can say, Rabindranath Tagore, who also during this time composed Amar Sonar Bangla, which later became national anthem, and established Shanti Niketan. और जो शांति निकेतन का establishment है आप देखो तो it's in the natural setting, is it okay? It's in the natural setting and away from the, you can say, chaos of the urban landscape, rather in a very natural landscape. अब गांधी की बात करें तो गांधी was emphasizing on education and he gave importance to education, and when in South Africa he established Phoenix School for the students, and he wanted to inculcate such kind of education which will help in the development of a child's body, mind and spirit. Spirit is what? Essence, okay, values to be imparted to the students. So Gandhi is of the view that any education which does not create a person with moral and ethical values, such kind of education has to be completely neglected or ignored. Later, as freedom movement progressed, Gandhi in the year 1937 supported वर्धा scheme of education, okay, जिसको हम कई बार नई तालीम भी बोलते हैं. In 1937, when Congress ministries got established, okay, there was a new education system ओके, कॉलेज नई तालीम, तालीम उर्दू शब्द है मतलब एजुकेशन, और नई क्या था, लर्निंग थ्रू अर्निंग। ओके, नई तालीम इज व्हाट, लर्निंग थ्रू अर्निंग। लर्निंग थ्रू अर्निंग का मतलब है, लर्निंग थ्रू अर्निंग का मतलब है कि गांधी वॉज एम्फेसाइजिंग ऑन imparting some knowledge so that students who are not very much keen to pursue higher studies, they should develop side by side the art of becoming self independent by engaging into some or such occupational things which will be a source of livelihood for them, which will be a source of livelihood for them. अब टैगोर की बात करें तो टैगोर इज मोर एम्फेसाइजिंग ऑन, यू कैन से, empirical नॉलेज और इंडिविजुअल एक्सपीरियंस। तो बहुत ज्यादा बुक्स पे इम्फेसिस के अलावे टैगोर का इम्फेसिस था कि नेचुरल, नेचर को ऑब्जर्व करके जो आप नॉलेज गेन करते हो उस नॉलेज की तरफ इम्फेसिस है। या समझ लो आप जैसे कि डीकोलोनाइजिंग द एजुकेशन सिस्टम। डीकोलोनाइजिंग मतलब जो दैट हैज बीन द थ्रस्ट बाय द ब्रिटिश सिस्टम, बाय द मैकॉलियन एजुकेशन सिस्टम, ठीक है, उससे डीकोलोनाइज। जैसे बहुत सारे सेजेस हैं एंशियंट एरा में, मिडिवल एरा में, जैसे कबीर मान लो, एक एग्जांपल कह रहे हैं आपको, तो उन्होंने देख के ही तो ऑब्जर्व किया होगा ना, कुछ देख के ही बहुत सारी नॉलेजफुल चीज, जैसे धीरे धीरे रे मना धीरे सब कुछ होए, मालिश सींचे 100 घड़ा ऋतु आए फल होए। तो क्या है, पेशेंस, मतलब ठीक है, जीवन में प्रोग्रेस के लिए आपको पेशेंस चाहिए, इसका यही मतलब। तो यही है डीकोलोनाइजिंग एजुकेशनल सिस्टम। सो Tagore believed more in, you can say, individual experience and wanted to promote self-sustained communities, and he also supported holistic development of the personality. Okay. Is that okay? Gandhi whereas more like a creating livelihood, but when Gandhi started in the non-cooperation movement, Khadi and Charkha in his constructive program, then Tagore criticized Gandhi कि by emphasizing on such kind of Khadi and Charkha kind of thing is actually retarding the human faculties। मतलब इंसान जो यूथ है जिसको आप कॉलेज से दूर रख रहे हो, इन सब चीजों पे फोकस कर रहे हो, उसके दिमाग के डेवलपमेंट को रोक रहा है। आप इसको ऐसे समझ लें, अगर 12th में आपने मैथ साइंस पढ़ा होगा तो यू माइट बी नोइंग कि जब हम फिजिक्स या मैथ्स के क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करते हैं तो बाय रिपीटेड सॉल्विंग ऑफ द क्वेश्चंस वी आल्सो होन अवर स्किल्स, होन अवर टैलेंट। तो हम अपने आप को निखारते भी हैं, लेयर्स है ना क्वेश्चंस के। तो जब हम थोड़ा एक डिफिकल्टी लेवल को पार करते हैं तो दूसरे में हमारा दिमाग एक्टिव होता है, लेकिन अगर हम मजदूरी करेंगे तो कहाँ से फिजिक्स सॉल्व होगा। ये आप एक को एग्जाम्पल दे रहा हूं आपको समझाने के लिए। तो टैगोर इज सेइंग व्हाट, यू आर एक्चुअली पनिशिंग द स्टूडेंट्स by depriving them the fruits of knowledge by emphasizing on Khadi and Charkha. Is that okay? Now, अब दूसरे एस्पेक्ट पे आते हैं गांधी एंड टैगोर के, नेशनलिज्म पे। तो नेशनलिज्म पे थोड़ा सा डिफरेंस ये था कि गांधी was promoting nationalism. Okay, Gandhi was promoting nationalism, but at the same time was against violence. This is all, you know, was against violence. Whereas Tagore was promoting sort of more internationalism कह लो। अब internationalism क्या है? Tagore's argument is that by emphasizing too much on nationalism, which largely revolve around a fixed territory, though I must categorically say here that nationalism has nothing to do with the territory. Nation is a feeling, nationalism is feeling of oneness. तो टेरिटोरियल सेंस में नहीं होता, लेकिन ज्यादातर जब समझना होता प्रैक्टिकल ग्राउंड पे तो इट इज बीइंग एक्सप्रेस इन द फॉर्म ऑफ टेरिटरी। तो नेशनलिज्म का जो बर्थ है दैट हैज बीन इन द 19th century 18th century फ्रॉम यूरोपियन हिस्ट्री। लेकिन जब वहां से नेशनलिज्म निकल के एशियाटिक सोसाइटीज में आता है, ठीक है, जो आइडिया स्प्रेड होती है, तो टैगोर का कह रहे हैं कि नेशनलिज्म फीलिंग, okay, nationalism lead to, you can say, cultural chauvinism. Cultural chauvinism का मतलब होता है कि एक पर्टिकुलर कल्चर को इम्फेसाइज करना या उसी को सब कुछ सही मानना या अपने कल्चर को सुपीरियर मानना. So it began to be expressed in the form of cultural chauvinism, and in the Swadeshi movement, Tagore became a critic of aggressive nationalism. क्योंकि स्वदेशी मूवमेंट के जस्ट बाद या उसी के आसपास आप समझ लो कि there is birth of certain aggressive form of nationalism in India in the form of अनुशीलन समिति. अनुशीलन समिति और अनुशीलन समिति के मेंबर्स ने वायलेंस भी एडवोकेट किया because they were inspired from Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, and Tagore was strictly against this violent form of nationalism. So Tagore was more like promoting you can say mutual love, respect for people across the nation, across the territorial boundaries. But अगर आप नेशनलिज्म के एडवोकेट हैं तो आप एक पर्टिकुलर नेशन के सेंस में प्रमोशन करेंगे या फीलिंग प्रमोट करेंगे. And he was also critical of that what you can say aggressive nationalism in Japan. Is it okay? Which led to the First World War also. Japan taking part in that First World War. So he was very much critic of that aggressive nationalism. और टैगोर की किताबें हैं गीतांजलि. तो गीतांजलि में उन्होंने एक्सप्लेन किया है ये aggressive nationalism, how it is creating friction between patriotism, okay, how the tussle is going on between patriotism and you can say a broader humanistic outlook. A broader humanistic outlook जैसे नेशनलिज्म इज द रीजन ना कि हम पाकिस्तान के हर लोग को, कई लोग होंगे ना ऐसा कि पाकिस्तान हर पाकिस्तानी से हो सकता है उनको चिढ़ो, या पाकिस्तान के लोगों को हर हिंदुस्तानी से चिढ़ो. तो जरूरी तो नहीं कि दोनों लोग सभी पाकिस्तान में खराब है या सभी भारत में खराब है. बट दैट एग्रेसिव नेशनलिज्म लीड्स टू द बर्थ ऑफ जिंगोइज्म, वेयर Jingoism is that one's own country is superior. So Tagore is against this, though Gandhi supported nationalism but was against violence. So when you are writing conclusion personalities के regard में तो हमेशा ऐसे लिखना चाहिए. To conclude we can say that they had differences, they had slight differences in education and nationalism, but both of the leaders contributed in their own way regarding Indian freedom movement. All good? Okay. Now next question is, how did the colonial rule affect the tribals in India and what was the tribal response to the colonial oppression? ये question थोड़ा simple है. How did the colonial rule affect the tribals in India and what was the, you can say, what was the tribal response to colonial oppression? Okay. तो देखो class, question है about the tribal. Question is about the tribals and the British policies towards the tribals. तो आप ये समझ लो कि जो ट्राइबल्स हैं, ठीक है, जैसे आपका जीवन आजकल बिना फोन के नहीं चल सकता, ठीक है, ट्राइबल्स का जीवन जैसे फोन हैज बिकम नेसेसिटी इन द मॉडर्न टाइम समझाने के लिए कह रहे हैं, वैसे ही ट्राइबल्स के लिए फॉरेस्ट बहुत जरूरी है, ठीक, बिकॉज दे डिराइव अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स फ्रॉम फॉरेस्ट प्रोड्यूस एंड देयर लाइफ इज वेरी सिंपल. दे आर नॉट डिपेंडेंट अपॉन द गैजेट्स एंड द मॉडर्न व्हाट यू कैन से फैसिलिटीज. सो देयर लाइफ इज सिंपल and they were heavily dependent upon the forest produce. But British का जो greed है, that come into direct clash with the tribal world. Because this greed of the British led to change in forest laws. Change in forest laws, and British by their various laws, legal system, they made amendment, they made changes in the forest laws and deprived the tribal population even of their dead wood. जो सूखी लकड़ियां हैं जिनको ईंधन के रूप में यूज करते थे उनको भी यूज करने की मनाही थी. सो इनका जो सेटिंग है, इनका जो सोशल सेटिंग, रूरल सेटिंग, ट्राइबल सेटिंग जो है और इकोसिस्टम है जो ट्राइबल का, दैट हैड बीन completely disturbed by the changes in the forest laws. And not only that, the change in the forest laws had disturbed them or their survival. Tribals also practiced jhum cultivation. Jhum cultivation. Jhum cultivation means shifting cultivation. Shifting cultivation. So they practice shifting cultivation. Shifting cultivation मतलब आज इस साल इस सीजन में यहाँ खेती किया, फिर अगले सीजन में इस जगह को जला दिया, अगली जगह खेती किया। क्योंकि आप ये समझने की कोशिश कीजिए, दे आर नॉट प्रैक्टिसिंग होर्डिंग, वो होर्डिंग नहीं कर रहे, वो होर्डिंग नहीं कर रहे। एंड दे हैड सिंपल लाइफ, सो दे practice agriculture in one region and the next season they move to other. But British, guided by the greed factor once again, they motivated or they encouraged, you can say, plantation crops, tea crop, rubber crop, you can say coffee crop. Such kind of, you can say, practice disturbed many of the tribal people of the shifting, you can say, cultivation. And the tribals used vast grazing land for their animals to graze over that. But British started bringing those areas also into cultivation. So that also disturbed the survival of the, you can say, tribals. Apart from that, once tribal people's life got affected, they started migrating. And British at times encouraged or forced the labor force from these regions to migrate to other areas, and they were being lured in the form of indentured laborers. Indentured laborers मतलब contractual laborers, जिनको आजकल वर्ड यूज होता होगा, अगर आपने अखबार पढ़ा होगा, गिरमिटिया, ओके, इन्हीं के लिए बोलता है। तो बहुत सारे जगह पे इन लोग को ले जाके, बाहर भी आप देखो विदेश में बहुत सारे इंडियंस बसे हो, बिकॉज ऑफ दैट यू कैन से indentured labor practice only. Plus, apart from that, the activities of the missionaries had also led to their own traditional religious practices being disturbed, and promotion of Christian missionaries, promotion of you can say such activities also hurt the religious sentiments of the tribal population, and that they expressed in the form of the revolt. Plus, the coal, okay. For example, the coal people, the tribals, that was another revolt, coal revolt, Santhal revolt, and that had been largely caused because of the loss of sovereignty. They lost the freedom, the tribals lost their freedom. So they expressed in the form of, you can say, revolt. Many times tribals had revolted also. Now, as far as response is concerned, okay, एक और aspect है legal system. So, the legal system and the complexities in the laws, like Indian Penal Code and you can say IPC, CPC, such kind of things had disturbed, or it came into clash with the traditional legal system of the tribals. Now, as their life, their entire, you can say, ecosystem got disturbed, they obviously expressed in the form of revolt. And these revolt, the most famous was Santhal revolt. Santhal revolt led by two brothers, Sidhu Murmu and Kanu Murmu. Santhal revolt took place in the year 1855-56. In the year 1855-56, in the Chota Nagpur plateau, like Hazaribagh, or you can say areas of Bankura in Bengal, okay, Chota Nagpur, Rajmahal Hills, where the revolt took place. And this revolt took place because British also encouraged the people from the plain areas to enter into the tribal belt. And these plain areas people who entered into the tribal land and started grabbing their land, grabbing their forest, they were being called as Dikus, foreigners. Foreigner मतलब ऐसा नहीं कि केवल ब्रिटिश, foreigner मतलब हम इंडियन जो प्लेन एरिया है ट्राइबल वर्ल्ड में एंटर करते हैं, उनको भी दीको कहा गया. So Santhal revolt is an example of, you can say, anger against the Dikus, and it broke out in 55-56 in the Chota Nagpur plateau. And there was also rebellion by the Kols. Kol was another tribal group which revolted in the year 1831. Then there is Bhil uprising. But if you see the response of the tribals, then some revolts were violent, and some were non-violent. One of the most famous revolt was 1899 of, which is called as Munda revolt, which you can describe here, okay, led by Birsa Munda. So Munda revolt, you can say Santhal revolt, Kol revolt, they were the violent revolt. The question is about tribals' response to the colonial oppression. So the tribal organized various uprisings and revolt like Santhal and you can say Munda, and they also express this desire, or you can say these revolt also symbolize that their ability to fight against the unjust, illegal system of the British. But at the same time, in Northeast, there was the revolt by Kuki, Chin, Mizo tribals, and this revolt was non-violent. This revolt was characterized by non-violence. Then there are Varlis. Varlis, another tribe in Maharashtra. Their response is by you can say producing traditional art. Okay, for what reason? For preserving their identity, preserving their identity. Then there were Bisnois in Rajasthan who were against the hunting practice of the British and felling of the trees, felling of the trees. So basically, as far as question is concerned about the response, you could or you should describe in detail about Munda revolt, Santhal revolt, and also about the Kuki, Chin, Mizo, which was a non-violent revolt. So these were the responses, or in this way the tribals had expressed their concern against the British, and you must also pinpoint that it was also directed against the British legal system because they were failing to understand the complex legal system. Okay. The next question is about what were the technological changes. This is about the medieval India. Unexpectedly, this year they asked questions, one question from medieval India from the mains point of view. Normally they ask questions from preliminary point of view, but there is no hard and fast rule regarding UPSC. I feel like UPSC U stands for unpredictable. कुछ भी पूछ लेते कई बार. So question is about what were the major technological changes introduced during the Sultanate period? How did those technological changes influence the Indian society? So what are the major technological changes introduced during the Sultanate period? So question is about the technological changes of the Sultanate period. So Sultanate period refers history from 1206 up to 1526, and in these there were 5 dynasties starting from, you can say, slave dynasty or Mamluk dynasty and up to Lodi dynasty. So the establishment of the Delhi Sultanate brought new changes in technology, and these technological changes is reflected in the form of building activities also. Like the earlier methodology was beam and slab. Beam and slab means if the rooftop had to be covered, they placed beams here like this from both the sides. Okay. But the Turkish rulers, they are also called, this is also called as Turkish rule. So the Turkish rules started using a different technology called as arch, इसको हिंदी में बोलते हैं मेहराब. So their building activities was based on the arch and dome, जिसको आप गुंबद कहते हो, जैसे थोड़ा शेप होता है, So most of the monuments in the Sultanate period you will find, okay, like this Alai Darwaja, okay, built by Alauddin Khilji, or one of the earliest mosque, Quwwat ul Islam in Mehrauli in Delhi. So they were reflections of the arch and dome methodology. Plus जैसे प्रोग्रेस होता है तो तुगलक पीरियड में आप देखोगे देयर इज बैटर टेक्निक इन बिल्डिंग. What is batter technique in building? Suppose this is a building. So in the corners extra lime mortar was being used for creating heavy walls in the corners of the wall. That is called as batter technique. Battered होता था मजबूती के लिए. तुगलक आर्किटेक्चर में तुगलक पीरियड के टाइम में ज्यादा दिखता है. लोधीज में यू हैव डबल डोम स्ट्रक्चर, डबल दोहरी गुंबद बनता है. We can't move to the Sultanate, Mughal period because the question is strictly about the Sultanate, technological changes in the. तो पहला तो बिल्डिंग एक्टिविटीज में, दूसरा मिलिट्री. मिलिट्री में पहले इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग क्या है? आर्मर्ड कैवलरी. आर्मर्ड कैवलरी, आर्मर्ड कैवलरी मतलब नाउ दे आर बीइंग गार्डेड विद द आयरन, ओके, यू कैन से शील्ड्स. प्लस जब आप घोड़े बैठोगे तो उसको बोलते स्टर्प. एंड ब्रिटिश कह रहे हैं, सॉरी फॉर मॉडर्न सभी जंप किया. तो मेडिवल पीरियड में दिस स्टिरप्स वर मेड ऑफ मेटल, बेसिकली आयरन. आप कभी अगर हॉर्स से बैठो तो आपको एक ऐसे सहारे के लिए आप इस पे पैर रखते हो, फिर आप जंप करते हो. सो दैट मींस दैट पर्टिकुलर थिंग on which you can keep your foot and then okay jump on the horse, they introduced with the metal strip. तो मजबूत होते थे, and that helped in, you can say, making swift movement by the soldiers, or you can say mounted soldiers. And they were also skilled archers. Okay, they were skilled archers because they belonged to the area where there was no settled life mostly. Okay, that was all steppes, grassland, and places where they had to depend upon the grazing. So they introduced cavalry forces and metal stripped in military technology. जो सबसे important development है टेक्नोलॉजी के फील्ड में, वो ले आते हैं टर्किश लोग एग्रीकल्चर में. एग्रीकल्चर में वो यूज करते हैं पर्शियन व्हील. ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, जिसको बाद में अर्घट और अरहट कहा गया. पर्शियन व्हील कैसा होता है? जैसे एक, पहले तो आप समझ लो कि एक आयरन की रिंग होती है ऐसे. दिस इज एन आयरन रिंग, एंड इन दिस आयरन रिंग देयर आर बकेट्स अटैच्ड ऐसे. और ये यहां पे आप समझ लो एक वेल है. सो व्हेन इट इज रिवॉल्विंग, और ये अटैच है ऑक्स से. एक लकड़ी का, बैम्बू का एक स्ट्रक्चर होता है और वुडन स्ट्रक्चर होता है, दैट हैज बीन वेयर इट हैज बीन टाइड विद द अनदर रिंग. और जब से ऑक्स चलेगा तो ये ऐसे रोटेट होती है. ये वाला हिस्सा जब कुएं में आएगा तो ये नीचे हो जाता है और इसमें पानी भरता है और फिर जाके यहाँ पे पलट देगा. तो यहाँ से ड्रेन बनी होती है और जाकर ये फील्ड में चला जाता है. इसको अच्छे समझने के लिए थ्रू, मतलब वीडियो अगर आप देखना चाहें तो आप YouTube पे भी देख सकते हो. ठीक है, क्योंकि मैं टीचर हूं, मुझे पता है तो मैं थोड़ा अच्छे समझा सकता हूं, लेकिन ये डायग्राम में हो सकता है यू मे नॉट बी एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड. तो आप YouTube पे पर्शियन व्हील अगर टाइप करोगे तो आपको इसको ऑपरेशनल साइड दिखा देगा और आप समझ जाओगे. एंड दिस हेल्प्ड इन you can say bringing water to the agricultural field, and since it is not using manual human labor, so it was more efficient compared to the earlier manual labor for watering the field, or it reduced the dependency on the monsoon, raising crop production. फिर regarding clothes, they introduced pit loom as well as spinning wheel. spinning wheel. The Sultanate rule had also led to improved metal, you can say, production, and this was possible because of the aggressive mining. Aggressive, I am using the word compared to the previous era. It was fast. Plus, paper was introduced in this period from China in the 13th century. From China, 13th century. And the Turkish will also come up with the book binding. Okay. It also brought book binding, and all these technological changes, first of all, one by one, how it impacted, because the next question is about how did those technological changes influence the Indian society. So, the building activities led to creating of massive monuments and structure and gave imposing, you can say, character to the Sultanate. Though there is a drawback also, many of the monuments were being created after destroying the previous buildings, like Dhai Din Ka Jhopda or Qutub Minar, where earlier there was believed to be Jain temples which were destroyed. So, it also gave a kind of negative impression. And improvement in military technology led to improved warfare. So, the state turned out to be a more militarized, more aggressive state. Plus, agricultural production led to the growth of the cities, because grains began to be supplied to the cities, and in the medieval period, in the later years, you will notice that there had been several flourishing cities which were better off than the European cities, because of the improvement in the irrigation, because agriculture is heavily dependent upon the irrigation. So, it reduced Persian wheel reduced dependency on monsoon. Plus, we became gradually the best in the textile and the silk production, and these clothes were so beautiful that it also attracted Europeans in the modern era to come and purchase textiles, and Bengal was the richest province because of this textile and silk production. So, overall prosperity also had increased because of the improvement in the technology and metal, you can say, making as well as mining. Plus, advent of paper from China and the book binding led to the publication, or you can say publication and reach of the books had increased, because the binded books were you can say more long lasting, and it could travel to different regions and helped in improved learning process also. So, in this way, the you can say the change in the technology in the Sultanate era is directly proportional to the improvement in the overall well-being of the society. So, that is it class, and one suggestion I would like to forward, whichever you can say notes or coaching classes you might be attending, okay, but please do emphasize on history books, and for history books you can read Plassey to Partition if you are having that kind of ability to understand, though it is slightly tough, or otherwise at least you read India's Struggle for Independence for a better understanding as far as history questions are concerned, because of late they are it can't be handled through just a mere guidebook. Okay. So, thank you, all the best, we will meet you sometime again.